everybody. Welcome to Talking Heartland. And this is the show where we're looking at back episodes of the Heartland TV show. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and Michelle's here.
Hey, everyone.
How are you doing?
Yeah. Good.
We've got
Feels
some
like we just
more.
talked.
We got some more season 15 to talk about.
Yeah. Feels like we just talked about it. We're doing a little quick
Yeah.
sort of Heartland binge record.
Yes.
Which has been fun because you can sort of stay in the mode and sort of see how the season is flowing.
Mhm.
A lot easier.
Yeah, it feels like we just talked about it because we did just talk about it.
We did just talk about it.
But to all of you, it's been a week. So I hope you had a great week. And we have been pretty happy with season 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really happy with it.
Considering the challenges that they had. And I feel like we've got some good new characters this season. We've got some obviously our favorites. And we got some interesting developments in these 3 episodes we're going to talk about, episodes 4, 5, and 6, particularly with Lou. So we're going to have lots to talk about Lou. But we have Sins of the Father is the first episode that we're going to talk about. And in this episode, we have a lot of memories of Jack and his father coming back to him. He's dealing with this break-in that's happened. He feels like he's let the family down. We also have Logan. His father is trying to get parole from prison, and he has a lot of mixed feelings about that, and whether he can forgive his dad. We also have Lou. She is trying to find her laptop, and this is probably like peak Parker episode. Would you agree?
Yeah. This is definitely a very Parker heavy episode.
Yeah, and she is very cute.
Mm-hmm.
Because I haven't been completely won over by her character. It's a little cute mop top-y, for me. I like it. I like a tiny bit more grounded in my child characters, but she was awfully adorable in this episode. So it's hard to not enjoy her. Her and Jack are so cute.
Yeah, and I think it's hard for any kid that comes into this show because they're immediately going to be compared to Mallory. It's like the gold standard of like the kids that sort of bring in.
Mallory and then Georgie, and I mean this had such a good run of, and of course Luke was so great. Yeah, so it is a tough, the bar is high for Heartland kids. And then yes, everyone's definitely spooked after the robbery, and I've never been robbed before, but I can imagine that would be very unsettling.
Yeah, I've fortunately never been through that myself, but yeah, like I think it's such a good storyline for Jack because he is such a protective person just by nature. And obviously that ranch is, it's so ingrained in so many generations of his family that for anyone to sort of violate that, it's such a massive blow to him. And he has his granddaughters, his great granddaughters, his wife in that house. So yeah, it's such a good storyline for him. Because yeah, you just watch it and you immediately get that is something that would just destroy him.
Yeah, and we have Shay Johnston back playing young Jack. Of course, he's Sean's son, and he does another really good job.
Yeah, and it's such a good likeness where it's not like, I think it would be so hard to cast a young Sean Johnson, and so they're so lucky that his son is so willing to do it. Because yeah, it's not like a crazy sort of clone likeness, but yeah, they definitely just the face structure, and it's just it just convinces you more and draws you in more to the storyline when she sort of steps into young Jack.
Well, yeah, and also that it's not just a stunt casting. Like, he's good.
Mhm. Yeah, he's really good. I think he sort of works behind the scenes on the show,
Mm-hmm.
so it's unusual that you would get someone to sort of step out from behind the scenes onto, the front of the camera, but,
Mm-hmm.
he's obviously comfortable with the people on this show, so that makes it probably makes it a little bit easier for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have this whole scene where after June's passing, uh, where where Jack says it's all my fault,
Mhm.
and the dad is not very sympathetic. That he blames him too. Really,
Yeah.
they get in a fight, and so yeah, that's all brutal. I mean, because you're gonna feel like it's your fault even if you had nothing to do with it at all. That's part of this kind of the stages.
Yeah.
And so for the dad to be that cold is rough.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think the show is, very good at handling this sort of storyline. They've done it many times.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about, Tim's issues and things like that. But yeah, it's not as rare that you sort of see a family show sort of deal with alcoholism in such a sort of brutal way.
Mm-hmm.
They're not sort of sugarcoating it and making it palatable. It's very visceral.
Yeah, and we also have, of course, Tim's experience too, and I feel like once Tim has understood what Jack went through with his dad, they've been able to bond uh, more in the last couple seasons.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they are very much father and son at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I do miss the days where they just drove each other crazy, and they still do to a certain point. But those early seasons were those early seasons were very brutal. They were
Yeah,
very hard on each other.
yeah. Yeah, I do. I like that too, but they still do drive each other crazy, but you're right. It's not
Mhm.
quite the same as it was. Jack changes out all the locks in the house, which I mean is probably more mental thing than
Mhm.
anything else, because it's not like they were just able to just break the glass, when the thieves didn't need access in any way. So, but I guess it couldn't hurt.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's more just
Mental.
keeping his hands busy as well, and having something active to do. Um, Even if it doesn't make sense to Lisa and the rest of the family.
Hmm. Yeah, and so see, so Logan, like his dad is in prison.
Mhm.
He's going up for parole, and I liked the fact that they were all kind of in unison about, well, he's done his time, and he
Yeah.
deserves a second chance, because there are people that aren't willing to give people uh, that have had a prison sentence a convicts a second chance.
Yeah, yeah, and I like that Logan was very honest about it as well.
Mm-hmm.
He very easily could have, asked Amy to keep it to herself, or but he was very honest at the dinner
Mm-hmm.
table.
Yeah, and there's that nice scene where Logan's coming to say goodbye to Amy, but she
Hmm.
says that she wants him to stay on, that he has a way with horses, that she wants him to work with Challenge, and you can just tell that kind of confidence that Amy has in him is something he's not used to.
Yeah, yeah, and I do like that the fact that they have sort of continued this idea of foster care, and I don't know how far they're going to go with it, but it feels very much like Amy is very much going to be continuing being a foster parent, in
Mm-hmm.
some capacity.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I do like that, and it's a good way to sort of keep Ty a part of the show as well, like an
Mm-hmm.
active part of the show, because that is something that he was very passionate about.
That's true. He would really liked Logan, that's for sure. So Tim gets very upset about the fact that his trophy was taken. And I have to say, it makes no sense that these robbers would take that. I mean, it has no monetary value. It makes no sense that the pawn broker would have bought it. Like, why would
Yeah.
anybody want anybody else's trophy? It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And it's not like I would understand it if, I mean, maybe I'm sort of talking myself out of it as I'm saying it, but Tim is sort of famous in that town. So, I mean, people like Caleb sort of idolize him. So, if you can sort of put him into that sort of famous athlete category, and that, but then again, it's such a small community and such a small world
Yeah.
that
You
everybody
just
knows
have it
him.
in
So,
your
yeah, yeah, you would
you
know
just,
that it was stolen.
yeah, you just have it. You can have it in a public space because
Yeah,
everybody would know. And so,
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
guess I've heard of people buying like other people's Olympic medals and things like that, I guess, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I just think it's not
I would
the
understand if it was like really shiny and sort of gold plated and looked more expensive,
mm,
but it just
mhm,
looks like an average trophy. It doesn't look,
right.
no, it's not like encrusted with diamonds or anything.
Yeah. Well, and Tim gets all upset, and you're just like, Tim, what the heck is Jack supposed to do? Like, how is your
Yeah.
being upset helping the situation at all?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, he was such a brat. Um, and considering his daughters and his granddaughters were in the house, I think that would be his main
Yes.
concern of like helping Jack buff up security or like, instead of like blaming Logan for something that he had nothing to do with.
Yeah. Like at one point, I swear Lindy's like right there, and she's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That poor kid. She's having like locks put in her door.
yes, because she has a door going right to the outside, and Tim's being all scary, like, why are you putting in all those locks? People are gonna come in, and she's like, what?
Somebody's gonna come into my room.
Ugh, Tim. But Parker and Tim become the dynamic duo, work
I
together.
did like them together.
She's like, let me tell you about Googling. And so they search for the trophy and for the watch. And I don't understand why people are blaming Logan for the break-ins, because he and the other kids were at the gala. So obviously they weren't the ones doing the break-in.
Yeah, and I don't understand how nobody said that. How nobody was like, they have an alibi now. Like they were all with
Yeah,
us. Like
that's what I
nobody
was
said.
thinking. Also, what inappropriate pictures does Lou have on this laptop?
Yeah, I don't want to think about it.
I was like, what?
That is such a left of field thing for Heartland to do. I'm like, what images? What are we talking about? I mean, she was in a long distance relationship for a while, so who knows what she was sending to Mitch.
Scandal. Well, and why would you put that on your work laptop?
What
If you're a
laptop? Yeah,
mayor.
that's like, yeah, yeah. She has no security on it. She has a really terrible password. Like
Yeah.
you would actually think that your computer wouldn't even allow you to put that in as a password. Like it's way too weak.
it, it was weird. I mean, you're just like, what are I know you're new to politics, but come on.
Yeah. She's sort of frustrating in moments of like, but yeah, my jaw nearly dropped when she was talking about inappropriate images. What is happening?
Yeah. Like what? That was definitely a surprise coming from Heartland.
Uh-huh.
And we never got the payoff. I kind of thought, oh, it's going to be like a funny joke.
Hmm.
There's going to be some payoff of like the inappropriate images, or like, I don't know, her being silly or something. But then
Yeah.
there wasn't really a payoff on it. It was just, I guess she
Yeah.
has inappropriate images on her laptop. Uh, don't put those things on your work laptop, Liv, when you're mayor. Oh, yeah. Poor Lindy, she gets upset because they're scratching at her door. But
Hmm.
it's just a raccoon. Raccoons are causing all kinds of trouble.
Yeah. Raccoons are just like a total menace.
Ugh. Don't ever feed them ever, because they raccoons work in circles. So once you get on their circle, they'll come back every day. Uh, so the janitor finds the laptop, and he was like, "Oh, it might this isn't safe or whatever." So he takes the laptop, and he's like the most safety conscious person in this office, I think. He's the only one.
Yeah, he should be her assistant. He should be the one telling her what to do.
Yeah, get rid of Rick. It's Rick now.
Like she's having like heart palpitations.
Yeah. This, I do feel like also this pawn dealer would not have purchased these things that are fairly obviously stolen. Because pawn dealers, they know that if there's not like a defined pedigree and the police come and say you purchased stolen items, they have to give up those items and don't get reimbursed in any way. So it is, I know this from watching History Channel and the shows on there, that they have to be very careful to not ever purchase stolen items, because it's just a big loss to them if they get confiscated.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
and again, like you would think that he would know who Tim was.
Yeah, and that too. and then we have let's see here. Sorry, I lost my place. This whole conversation between Lisa and Jack was really sweet. And Lisa says, "You always make me feel safe." And she says, "You pulled yourself out of a very dark place and created this beautiful, safe home for us." That was very, very nice.
Yeah, and I was
very
glad
true.
he sort of, and I was glad he sort of let her in the end. Because I really don't like it when they're on bad terms, or when he's, doing this sort of shutting people out thing that he does, especially with Lisa. I think she's sort of really earned his honesty and just being open with her by now. She's really ingrained in as a part of the family now, and it doesn't feel good when he sort of snaps at her.
Yeah, and it's extra moving when you have a character like Jack get emotional, because you just don't see that as much in characters like him, sort of this cowboy type character. For him to break down is very moving. They sort of lean into the sort of stereotypes and other things, but he's very sort of family oriented and very in a way sort of maternal. And the whole scene when Jack takes Lindy fishing, oh
my God, that was so cute.
That got me. That was so good. So sweet. He remembers his dad, because that was before things got rough and the alcohol just ruined everything. And the little boy Jack is good too.
And it doesn't sort of lean too heavily on the flashbacks era. Sometimes it feels like they take up half the episode.
Yeah, they worked for me in this episode, and maybe partly it's because there were multiple time periods that were flashing back to, so it didn't feel quite like that. But yeah, him fishing with his dad, and that was really good. And so Cooper leaves, and so then Clint is kind of stepping in to try to manage the group home. So we have that, and
I'm really I'm skeptical that he's actually going to come back this season. I think he's gone.
Cooper.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I'm thinking that maybe this is Amy's storyline of being in charge of the
Wild.
school. Yeah.
Yeah, and we find out that Logan's dad didn't make parole, so that's tough.
Yeah.
That's
Sort of
tough.
saw it coming, but yeah, it's hard to sort of watch.
Yeah, I like Logan as a character. I think he's a good
Hmm.
add to the show.
Yeah, and I think him and Amber are really good together.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to see how far Amy's come as well, because there were so many episodes there where she was sort of admitting that she, didn't really know how to talk to Luke a lot of times. But she doesn't seem to be struggling as much
Mm-hmm.
with Logan.
Yeah, I mean, she has all the memories he brings up with Ty.
Mhm.
That's hard, but as far as dealing with troubled youth, I guess she seems to be handling it very well, and is very sweet when Parker gives Jack the watch.
Yeah, I was glad they did it sort of away from the rest of the family as well.
Mm-hmm.
That they had a nice moment instead of doing it at the dinner table with everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought they were going, I guess it's more the next episode, but I thought they were going to give Jessica a rock
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, yeah.
when they're all gathered there. They're
Hmm.
all making an announcement and everything. I'm like, oh, okay. The whole rock thing is very random.
Yeah. Some people need to wait years, and other ones just get them right away.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, and then we have Jack telling Logan to forgive his dad, and then Lisa saying after, "Can you do the same?" And
Yeah.
I think that forgiveness in as a theme is almost always a winning theme for me. It's just
Hmm.
it's one of the toughest things that we are called upon to do in life, I
Yeah.
think, is we have these wounds. Some of them may seem small, some of them are very big, but it can be very hard to let it go and turn
Hmm.
that over to God or whatever you believe in and not have it control your life. Like you don't have to be a religious person. Everybody needs to
Hmm.
forgive in order to move on with your life. And but it can be incredibly difficult. And I don't know, it's a theme that always moves me in media.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things. It's very much easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and I thought it was handled very, very well here.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially when you think of how long Jack's probably been holding on to this. It's a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in some ways, it's caused him to create Heartland for his family, and but it's
Mhm.
also kind of made it a burden in that he didn't really have the choice to do it because his father let everybody down so much. That's why it's called this episode, "Sins of the Father," and that was another really nice moment between Lisa and Jack. Can you
Yeah,
forgive?
yeah, it was really sweet.
Mm-hmm. So,
And I really love um, how much scenes and dialogue and sort of moments they're given to Lisa. It feels like a lot of seasons, all of her stuff is with Jack, but it feels a little bit more sort of spread out this time.
yeah, yeah. So, what would you give this episode 1 to 10?
A 7.5.
Mm, I might go a little higher, maybe an 8,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's a really solid one.
From award-winning author Olivia Matthews comes a new cozy mystery in the small town of Peach Coast, Georgia. Murder Out of Character follows book-loving librarian and amateur sleuth Marve after she finds a handwritten list of locals' names at an event. With time running out and a serial killer on the loose, can she piece the clues together in time? Full of Southernisms, a quirky supporting cast, and a sweet side helping of romance, this mystery is the perfect whodunit for your fall reading list. Publishers Weekly calls Murder Out of Character the prose equivalent of a Hallmark family movie. Available now on Amazon and at Barnes and Noble and select bookstores. For more about Murder Out of Character and Olivia's entire Peach Coast Library mystery series, visit www.patriciasurgent.com. That's patriciasurgent.com.
All
Mhm.
right, so the next episode is called Blood and Water. In this episode, Amy is working with Shadow, and there's a big cattle drive that they have to orchestrate, and they end up, Fred goes on the cattle drive, Jessica's on the cattle drive, but she's doing this photo shoot for the publicity during the cattle drive, and there's some animosity between Jessica and Lou, and there's some drama going on with Peter. And then you have the girls finally getting a chance to babysit, and evidently Lindy is very good at hide and seek. So, what did you think about this episode?
I found this to be a really frustrating episode. I found Lou to be really difficult.
Yeah.
And I tried really hard to sort of understand where she's coming from. But it's not like Jessica did anything that was, crossing the line, or I just found it really hard to sort of see where she was coming from. And also she sort of had a similar reaction with Lisa as well, when Lisa first came into the family. So yeah, it's hard and she's a grown woman as well. It's hard when, somebody who's as accomplished as her behave in a way that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, like Lou needs, I feel like, constant positive reinforcement. I mean, she was literally elected mayor, so people like her in the town. She's been given multiple business awards. For her, she's had every business she's done has been a success. She hasn't had anything that's really failed. Her daughters are great. Yeah, I guess she had failed marriage, but she's very successful, and yet she seems to constantly kind of need to be told that she's great, and she's very upset that she's not immediately thought of as to go on this cattle drive, and Jack has to kind of apologize to her, and it's understandable that they wouldn't think of her first, because she's got like 7 jobs, including being mayor.
Yeah, and the stuff on the ranch has never been something that she has been, actively involved in. You can sort of include the Dude Ranch in that, but that's her own thing. But yeah, she's never took anything to do with the horses or the cattle, or the way it's run. That's always been Jack. So yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't even have a horse that's like her horse.
Yeah, she doesn't have a horse. And yeah, we've never seen her show any interest in the cattle business unless it was with Mitch.
Yeah, and she gets annoyed with Jessica about the photography, and I'm like, I don't really understand why that's annoying. I mean, she's just it's not like she's making them pose for the photos. She's trying to get kind of more casual photos. I mean, I don't know how they got that whole dinner spread set up and everything, and in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the cattle drive.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, it was weird. It was pretty, and they seemed like they'd be good photos, but it wasn't really rugged, because that you think you'd want, like the original photo of Jack is more rugged than this. Looked like more like Martha Stewart living kind of type of photography.
Yeah, this was more like, well, the sort of Jack image was more like the photos that Jessica took of the rodeo that Tim didn't like. So yeah, it felt
well, it
weird.
was more like the Marlboro Man, like kind of your classic Western kind of cowboy look.
Yeah.
And again, this looked more like something from Martha Stewart Living or Entertainment Space or something like that. And Shadow is struggling. He keeps getting the jitters on the drive. And they have this big herd because they have their horses, and I mean, they have their cattle plus the Mitch's cattle that they bought.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. And I mean, this would be a lot for someone like Fred who had never really been on a horse much.
Yeah. I mean, he was kind of hilarious though.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it is true that I've only been horseback riding twice and I was sore
hmm
after that.
Yeah. You can sometimes see, like, especially when you see, obviously, cast that haven't ridden horses before, and then you
Mhm.
see like Aber Marshall, and it's just like the way she just flows. And then you see these other people that are just like
Yeah.
jutting around all over the place, barely hanging on. Yeah.
Yeah. In Fred, he has that whole bag of ice that he
Yeah.
sits on.
Yeah.
You need it. You would need it. Have you ever been horseback riding?
I haven't. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've. I think I maybe was on a donkey when I was younger. Like, I barely remember it. But yeah, not
Uh-huh.
horseback riding.
Yeah, I've only done
I
it
don't think I would
twice.
be good at it. I don't have no
Mm,
balance whatsoever.
yeah, it's not my greatest skill. But but Fred, he toughs it out, even though Jack's like, I don't want this to turn to city slickers, which is
Yeah,
what
it
it
was
basically turns
definitely
into.
yeah, it was definitely slightly suckers with Fred.
Hmm.
He was giving off those vibes there for sure.
Yeah, and so uh, they Parker and Katie really want to babysit for Lindy, and Lisa finally agrees, which again
hmm
makes total sense. These girls are definitely mature enough
Yeah.
to babysit, but then she immediately gets lost because they're playing hide and go seek, and she is very good at hiding.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how they missed the sort of um oh gosh, what do you call it?
The cellar, the root
Yeah, the
cellar.
cellar shelter thing that yeah.
Yeah.
Lisa finds it right away, so I don't know how they missed it, but yeah, they're definitely and yeah, like Katie definitely is old enough to be babysitting.
Yeah.
And
Maybe for your first time babysitting, don't play hide and seek.
hide and seek,
Maybe
yeah.
like tag or something like that would be a
Yeah,
better
especially when there's
choice.
like multiple properties that you could hide on.
Yeah. uh-huh. And then we have the we have fighting between Jack and Tim with Fred about the business. That Tim is upset because they didn't consult him. That they bought the herd without his. I mean, they asked him, but then he was gone for like all this time,
hmm
and eh, he was in Machu Picchu and all that stuff. And Jack has to continue the business even when he's gone.
hmm Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah,
the
and
same thing with
also
the
Jack
rodeo
sort of
school.
yeah, and Jack sort of made the decision to sort of lean in as opposed to sort of taking more time off and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, edge into sort of retirement. He sort of decided that that wasn't for him. So yeah, he wants to make the most of the business while he can. So it's
Mm-hmm.
understandable.
So then Peter texts Lou and says, I hope you didn't cancel the wedding because of something I said. Come on, Peter, you're not this stupid. Like literally you call her and say that you still have feelings for her, and you can't come to the wedding because it's too hard for you. And then right after that, she cancels the wedding.
Mm,
Come on. Come on,
yeah.
Peter.
Oh, ridiculous.
And so then she texts him back, but then she wants, I forget what it was that she actually texted,
Yeah, I
but
think she sort of just said like, "Of course it was you." So
yeah,
it's sort of
something
like
like that.
yeah, it's a bit of a drunk text as well.
Yeah. And yeah, they got a little sloshed on their they at this dinner. Again, how did they have all of this stuff ready? This beautiful spread. They had steaks, evidently. They had wine.
Mhm,
I mean,
mhm.
this is a cattle drive.
Yeah, yeah, it's a fancy cattle drive.
Yeah, it really is. Uh And are they driving the cattle to
I think they're
where are
just
they
moving
taking
it.
them? Do we know?
Yeah, yeah. I think they just move them about the ranch when it's sort of different seasons and things like that. To sort of graze on different
Because they
grass
used
and
to
things
take it
like
over to Tim's land, but now he
that.
doesn't own that land.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
Mm-hmm.
think they have like enough land as it is, but yeah, they made it seem like they were
Mm-hmm.
sort of trekking for a long time, and then you realise that they're actually just on their own land when Amy sort of has to bring Shadow back.
Yeah. So Lou is upset that she wasn't considered as a successor of Heartland Beef, which again, why would they consider her? Because she already has 7 jobs, including being mayor, and she's expressed no interest previous to this point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a Lou sort of defender, but she does make it hard sometimes.
Yeah.
They like to make pretty much everything about her.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, her sort of taking personal offense to, her dad getting married, to her
Mm-hmm.
boss, and then this thing that I don't think she's ever done any of the other cattle drives before. I think maybe once before. So she sort of showed up
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of one. But yeah, it's not something that sort of comes to comes to mind when you
Yeah.
think of Blue.
Because they're not really considering Amy as a successor either,
Yeah.
because she's also expressed no interest. Uh, so it makes sense that they're working between Tim and Jack and uh, that kind of group. It
Mhm.
doesn't have anything to do with her abilities as a business person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then she says to her and Jessica get in a big fight, and she says, "Suddenly, you know what's best for my family." That was rough.
No, that was harsh.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
harsh.
Yeah. It's so hard to come into like a family, a pre-existing family that's sort of very tight and
Mm-hmm.
like these guys are. But yeah, it's really awful to sort of see that.
Well, that's why I've said many times about how there's an argument for getting married young.
Mhm.
Before it's harder sometimes when you're older. Things are more entrenched. People are more set in their ways, and uh, like here that Jessica's experiencing.
Yeah. Yeah, and she is coming across as a little sort of try hard, but that's completely understandable
Mm-hmm.
when you're sort of coming in to this sort of, like I say, pre-existing family of different generations and
Mm-hmm.
different dynamics, and we sort of find out that she doesn't really have family, so that makes it even more difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Amy finds a dead calf and a bear at the creek in
hmm
the river. That was a pretty well done scene, I thought.
Yeah, that was really well done. Um, and a little gruesome for Heartland as well.
Yeah. I mean, they got, it wasn't just like stock footage of a bear. There was like a bear.
It was like a bear, yeah. Yeah, I love Jack being like, stand your ground. I'd be like, yeah, I would be running away.
Oh.
I wouldn't be standing.
I mean, they say that at least I've heard it that if the bears there just play dead,
hmm
just flop on the ground, which I don't know. I, I feel
I
like
don't think
that would
I'd be
be
able to do that
scary.
either. Yeah, yeah.
But poor Shadow has a puncture wound. He gets uh hit.
Yeah,
That
like
was
stabbed by a branch, I think.
Ooh. Yeah. And then Fred's horse gets stuck. He's in the water, and Lou helps him. And so Lou does save the day. So everybody's happy.
hmm
And Lou, Jessica, and Fred make it with the herd.
Yeah, this was a good Lou moment. It's just
Mm-hmm.
frustrating that the other stuff kind of brought me down on her a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. This could have been a really good Lou episode because, yeah, she has been doing this stuff her whole life. It's just not something that, you know, as an adult, she has any interest in.
Yeah. So then you have
you have Lou apologizing to Jessica. So she comes around. It's just for a character that's been on this show for as long as she has, you'd think we'd be more attached to her than we are.
Yeah. It's just we keep going over the same things with her.
Yeah.
There's very little sort of character development in the sense of how she responds to, jealousy or insecurity. She just sort of lashes out. Yeah, and we've got more of it in the next episode.
Yeah. So Tim asks Jessica, says, let's have a party, which I think is appropriate. I feel like you should have some kind of, even it's like an open house, something if you elope and get married away from your family. Like, I think it's nice to have something, even if it's just all going to dinner or something to celebrate the union with your family.
Yeah, and it makes it feel more sort of real and more of a sort of celebration of a bond for the family as well. They'll sort of, they're not wearing wedding rings, they're just sort of saying that they're married. And I imagine that's really difficult for the family to sort of get their heads around.
Yeah, because really, I mean, it is a whole family accepting a new person into the family, especially when it's such a tight family like this.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Peter arrives back, and Peter and Lou kiss. So we're going on this train again.
Yeah, I almost texted you like, here we go again.
Yes.
Oh, God. I'm not looking forward to this. I just don't trust that they're gonna actually like have them be a married couple this time without conflict, because I feel like a lot of shows don't understand that you can actually have a marriage on TV without conflict or without. I mean, if you look at things like Friday Night Lights or even on Parenthood, they had such good marriages on those shows. Obviously there was some that were just conflict after conflict, but if you had things like Coach and Tammy, and try to think of like the main.
It's
the
true.
main
Even
couple.
something like Marshall and Lily and How I Met Your Mother, that there was never a threat to their marriage.
To the marriage, yeah. There was conflict, but the relationship was never in trouble.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of shows don't understand that, you can be a little bit more creative when you're coming up with conflict.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And like, sure, divorce is very common. Over half the half couple marriages end in divorce. We get that, but also half don't. And so we can have both stories.
And it's sad that you can look at TV and when you think of strong marriages in TV, for me, I can only think of a handful. There's not many. Every show has, a threat to the marriage, whether it's sort of an affair or a temptation of some kind. But yeah, it's frustrating, and I really hope they're able to sort of pull it off this season.
Yeah, we'll see. I will see.
We'll see.
This episode did have some beautiful cinematography. You can tell they've gotten more of a budget, I think, especially that shot with Tim and Jack on the horses and trying to help Lou. There was a beautiful drone shot that was really nice. So that's fun. And just the whole spectacle of the cattle drive was very well done, very well staged. So I would give this episode, I think I'd also give it an 8.
Yeah, I'd probably give it like a 7.58 as well. The low stuff just sort of brought it down a little bit for me.
Yeah. So the next episode is called Happy Ever After. As Tim and Jessica's attempt to throw a small party snowballs, Lou struggles to hide a revived past relationship from the family, and Amy and Logan continue to work with the wild horse.
So yeah, Amy and Logan are working with this wild horse to give as a gift for Jessica. And this horse is just so beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Um, I do worry that it's a bit of a big horse to give someone that. Yeah, well, no, she does have a lot of riding experience, doesn't she? She's sort of been doing polo and things like that. So yeah,
Mhm.
it is a
Yeah,
beautiful, beautiful horse.
it's true. To give a newly gentled horse to a fairly new rider is probably risky, but yeah, Tim is just so excited about this marriage and wants to give. He has multiple surprises in store, which is really cute to see.
Yeah, I do like the twist on, it's the guy that's excited about it and wants to sort of lean into the marriage
Hmm.
traditions and sort of all of those things as opposed to the other way around, which we're so used to seeing.
Yeah, yeah, and so Tim gives her a ring, and that kind of freaks her out, and she's like, "No more grand gestures." And Tim has a flashback to memories with Marion. That was
Mhm.
just very sweet. This was probably a peak Tim episode.
Yeah, yeah,
It
this
was,
this shows Tim in his best light, I think.
mm, yeah, he was very sweet, and the wedding really got to me. I thought it
Hmm.
was very well done, and just a nice moment for the show.
Hmm. Yeah, and I like it that it was just, you know,
Hmm.
for the family. There wasn't any sort of um anybody performing a ceremony or anything like that. It was just,
Hmm.
a commitment between two people. So yeah, it was
Yeah, that
really
was
well
a
done.
nice way to honor the ceremony that they already had.
Mhm.
So they didn't have a replacement for it or anything like that. It
Mhm.
was just them committing to each other in front of their family, which is nice.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah.
Hmm. And then Tim says to Jack, says, "You're basically my best friend. Will you be my best man?" Which just warms the heart.
Yeah, yeah, that
So
was such a
sweet.
good moment. Yeah, it was such a good moment. And yeah, as much as I miss them being antagonistic, it is nice to sort of see how far they've come. Um,
Hmm.
that he would openly admit that to Jack is just shows how far Tim's come.
Hmm. Yeah. And we have Lou and Peter there kissing and getting back together. And Katie and Amy see it. And so they know
Yeah,
they're not good at hiding. Lou's never been very good with that. She always gets caught
yeah,
fairly quickly.
yeah. The house is very open plan, so the fact that they were like kissing in the kitchen was
Yeah, like right
ridiculous.
after dinner.
Right after dinner, yeah, it was very silly.
That was ridiculous. Lou says she wants to keep Peter to herself. I feel like at this point, like that's ridiculous. I
Yeah,
mean, they have,
yeah,
I can understand, I guess, wanting to keep it from Katie, but everybody else, it's
yeah. I mean, it's frustrating because at one point in the episode, she says, "What if we get back together? What does that look like?" And then he never answered her, and then it went back to this ridiculous storyline. So it feels like we didn't accomplish anything this
yeah,
whole
it's
episode.
true. You have
It's
more of a dynamic between Caleb and Peter than you do between Lou and Peter.
Yeah, yeah, uh-huh. Um, they didn't have any sort of a conversation about the relationship, other than the fact that they're attracted to each other. Like that was it. That's all we got. Like
Mhm. I
nothing's
mean, it
changed.
was kind of nice to
Nothing's over.
finally it was kind of nice to finally see some spark between the two of them because I
Hmm.
feel like we've gotten so little of that in their relationship.
Yeah, yeah, and I also think that, especially in the beginning, Lou and Mitch just had such good chemistry um
Uh-huh.
that was never really there with Peter. So it was nice to see them trying to sort of have that with Peter a little bit more. Because I feel like the Mitch stuff sort of blew that relationship out of the water for me. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's frustrating because nothing nothing's actually happening, nothing's developed, we're just back to where we were. They're not together because Lou had one foot out already before anything happened. They never had a conversation about getting back together. He just assumed that they were back together. But yeah, it's like he still lives in Vancouver, she still lives here and in Hudson. So yeah.
Well, so then they end up dancing at the end after Caleb tells Peter to just go for it, which was a nice moment, the two of them.
Yeah.
And they dance on the pier and on the dock, and Lou says she's not sure it's going to work. And then he says, when you're ready, let me know. And I mean, I kind of just wish they would just go for it and just have a little bit of fun, like with the relationship. The relationship has always been one of conflict from the beginning. We've had so little just like fun from them as a couple.
Yeah. And, you know, it's been such a long time as well. And you know, Katie's older. She would be able to understand it a little bit more. So it's not like they can't make a long distance relationship work because Peter is there a lot. It's not like he's gone all of the time. I feels like he was there more when they were divorced than they were when they were together. So yeah, I think they've been through enough that they can actually make it work. But it feels like the show just constantly makes the distance thing a conflict, and it's not fun to watch, especially when we've been through it several times before. It feels like they want the relationship to be endgame, but the show just keeps on going.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
it feels like they want to end the show with them together, which I understand, but the show is not ending anytime soon, so they have to do something.
Yeah, I wish that they'd just introduce a whole new love interest, and I wish that they would just kind of like with in Sex and the City, when they have all these hard relationships for Charlotte, but when she meets Harry, they just allow her to be happy. They really have, I mean, they do break up at one point, but like, as far as you don't really have the girls sort of questioning her relationship, or it's just allowed to be this kind of happy thing for her in her life. And I kind of wish that they would do that for Lou here. Just allow her to just have joy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I've done it with other relationships in the show as well. I mean, you know, Jack and Lisa weren't together a lot of their marriage, and it wasn't as, you know, it wasn't an issue other than, you know, Jack not really wanting to sort of travel, but you never got the feeling that they were going to divorce over it.
Yeah. So then we have Jessica getting upset about this wedding because Tim is going overboard. Jack says to Jessica, I've never seen Tim so happy. He just wants everyone to know, which is so cute. And then he says, you've got the entire clan in your corner now.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that moment because I think it's Jessica realizing that she has this family now, and she has to sort of consider what her, you know, impulsive decision to get married sort of means to them, and what it changes about that family. Because like you said, she doesn't really have family, so she's never really had to sort of consider the feelings of others in that way. She's obviously just been able to, you know, do what she wants when she wants, but she doesn't really have that freedom anymore, especially when you're married into a family like this. That's just in each other's business as much.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of people to manage, and I can imagine it would feel very overwhelming. But then also you have that support that you never had before.
Yeah, she's married to him, but she's also a stepmom, and she's also a step grandmother as well. So yeah, it's a lot.
And Amy's still working with Logan. They're trying to again get this horse ready. And then also Amy has a conversation with Lou
saying, "Be careful with Peter," which you can understand why she would say that.
Yeah.
So Jessica gets a dress. I was kind of underwhelmed by the dress once we actually saw it. I mean, it was fine,
Yeah.
and I guess appropriate for the occasion, but the way they were building it up, I was expecting it to be more than just like a plain white short dress.
Yeah. I think it suits her personality.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as far as like on TV, it was a bit underwhelming.
Yeah, I was just expecting something with like a little bit more style, the way that she was like, "You can't see it," it's just like it was a totally plain white short dress, which is fine, but I don't know. And then Jessica asked Lou to be her maid of honor, which was sweet.
Yeah.
And Tim says, "I really want to wear a wedding band." And he asks Jack to write a song for them, for Jack and Amy to sing. And which was, again, very sweet. Like I said, this was peak Tim. This was him being as sweet as he could be. And we also, I didn't really get the whole plot with Parker and Logan. So Parker thinks that that Logan is her date to the wedding.
I think she just has a crush on him. I don't think it's anything like that. I don't think he has any clue. I think he definitely has a crush on Jade.
She looked so different, didn't you think?
Yeah, she looks so grown up now. It's crazy.
I hardly recognized her. Just her hair color was different. Just the style of makeup. She just looked really different to me.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like having Parker have a silly crush. It feels like we've had that with Mallory quite a lot as well.
Yeah, that's true. Just seemed like the show was taking it pretty seriously for like a little girlhood crush.
Yeah.
And then Logan asked Jade to dance, and then she tells him to ask Parker to dance, which was, again, just a little, I don't know, I just thought it was a little weird. But we get Jade and Caleb dancing, which was also awkward because he's married with a child.
Yeah, I think they tried to sort of have a sort of sibling type relationship with them, but yeah, it was a little strange.
Mm-hmm. And we get the song, which was very sweet. And then we get Lou, and that's when we get Lou and Peter dancing. So a lot of drama going on at the Heartland Ranch this week. So I liked this episode a lot. I think this was very good. I loved the wedding. So I mean, the Lou and Peter stuff is frustrating, but they at least had some spark, I thought, within some of the scenes. It was like, okay, finally. So I would give this a pretty high score. I'm gonna give this a 9.
Yeah, we'll go with a 9 as well. The ceremony for what it was very beautiful. I don't know how they managed to make that dock area just look so stunning every single time.
Yeah, they really do.
It's like the I don't know how many couples have got engaged and married in that. We need to do like a tally of how many times
They
they've
really
had
could have like a whole wedding package as far as the dude ranch.
Yeah, I'm sure Lou's onto it.
Yeah. Well, let us know if you're listening what you think of these 3 episodes. We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments section or on Twitter. And Michelle, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at Michelle R. Benson.
Great. You can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews 5 stars. It really helps us a lot. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group and merch store, and you can get Heartland inspired merch at the merch store. So please take a look at that. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.